So, in this segment, we're going to be talking about the UK downplaying the risks, how the UK downplayed the risks of the Northern Ireland Protocol with regards to the peace process. Sorry, that's a bit of a messy introduction there. This is according to an ex-diplomat, which means that the UK essentially said that the Northern Ireland Protocol won't have a big impact on the peace process within Ireland, which we know is not true after we've seen multiple buses being burnt and armed groups essentially causing chaos in Northern Ireland. So we know that's not true, and she's 100% correct. So a former British diplomat has accused the government of being deliberately misleading over Brexit and its effect on the Northern Ireland peace process, which we know to be true. Remember, Boris Johnson said there would be no border in the Irish Sea and all of that kind of stuff. He kept lying consistently to the people of Northern Ireland, to the DUP, and he kept emboldening the DUP, and this is one of the results of his words, essentially. Alexandra Hall, her name, Alexandra Hall, that must be a typo, resigned from her senior role in Washington in 2019. She's someone who would have made a lot of money in her role, a very senior position by the sounds of it, and she quit based on integrity. Now she has written a lengthy article criticising Boris Johnson's government in the lead up to the 2019 Brexit deal. Now, if she had written this in a book, I'd be a bit more sceptical, someone trying to sell a book, but evidently that is definitely not the case, which gives her a lot more, kind of raises her in my estimations, I suppose, for whatever my estimations are worth. But you can see someone very credible who was essentially in the front lines having to explain to people within the US about the Northern Ireland Protocol and its impact, and she didn't believe the government. She said one minister dismissed the risk of a no-deal Brexit on Irish firms as only affecting a few farmers with turnips in the back of their trucks. So this minister had no idea about how much trade is done with Ireland, absolutely no clue, thinking they're just a bunch of farmers with turnips. Surely potatoes is the one they would have gone for, but this man has no idea about Ireland. It's not some agricultural power as it was. Ireland is one of the major places for financial services within Europe. So this man, absolutely no clue. Assuming it's a man, probably is. BBC News Northern Ireland asked Downing Street for a response for allegations. Obviously, government's said nothing. Miss Hall joined her name is Miss Hall apparently. Joined the Foreign and Commonwealth Office back in 1986, so that's around a decade before I was even born, and clocked up more than 30 years of experience in senior diplomatic roles. So this is not some Johnny come lately. This is a person who has so much experience in the Foreign Office, so much experience in foreign affairs, realising how damaging Boris Johnson is to the peace process in Northern Ireland, and this is a person of actual integrity. Not many of them left in politics at the moment. You could say she's a civil servant, but how many civil servants have resigned over anything this government has done? Barely any. Most recently, she worked as a UK Brexit counsellor at the British Embassy in the United States, capital Washington, a post she said carried the responsibility of explaining Brexit to American audiences. And this is the key here. She had to explain to the Yanks what the impact of the Northern Ireland Protocol will be on Ireland. And obviously, we know the government consistently lied about it, but evidently she didn't believe them. She quit that role in early December 2019, saying she could no longer peddle half-truths on behalf of political leaders she did not trust. This, she's a person of incredible integrity. She was told to say certain things to the Americans. She said, no, I don't believe what my own government is saying. She's employed by the government, essentially, to advise Americans on certain things. She's employed as a diplomat a counsellor to the Americans on behalf of the British Embassy, and she left that role. A person with 30 years of experience in foreign affairs. 30 years experience, crazy. Her resignation came a few weeks after Boris Johnson agreed the Brexit withdrawal agreement with the EU, and a few days before he led the Conservative Party to a victory in the 2019 general election. So she obviously knew what was coming. She knew exactly what was going to happen. Her resignation letter made headlines at the time, and now she has gone further in her criticisms of Mr. Johnson's government in an article she wrote for the US Journal, a Texas National Security Review. Again, a really obscure paper journal, never heard of them, so she's not doing this for clout. It's very obvious she's concerned about the situation. At least that's my interpretation of it. The article describes her dilemma as a conflicted civil servant who felt her government was implementing Brexit in a way that was deliberately misleading and a violation of my civil service duty to act with integrity, because that is what's expected of them. Because if she peddles half-truths and lies, it will come back to get her, and also the fact that clearly she felt like she couldn't do this. This is the height of integrity, leaving, potentially a well-paying job in a country that is far, far away from here. What other options would she have had after she left that post? I doubt she'd have a ton, to be honest. Be some in the private sector and things like that, but there's no guarantee of these things. A person, the height of integrity when it comes to people like these, that, she could have just said, oh, well, I'm just doing my job and I'm just doing what my government's told me to do, which is the defence a lot of civil servants will use, rightly or wrongly, but clearly she didn't feel that way, and you have to have a lot of respect for these sorts of people. She said after he became Prime Minister in July 2019, Mr Johnson's government downplayed the impact of Brexit in terms of its likely costs and its effects on international trade, which, anyone could have told you is a lie. Anyone with any semblance of just a bit of knowledge about trade could have told you that. We had trade experts coming out of the wazoo telling us, don't do this, don't be stupid, you're making a mistake, and we carried on like clowns. They were not simply putting a positive spin on policy, a normal practice of any government. They were willfully disingenuous, and this is a big statement here from a former civil servant. They were not simply putting a positive spin on policy, which is bad enough as is. A normal practice of any government. They were willfully disingenuous. And when the Northern Ireland Protocol was signed, everyone hailed it as a big achievement. And then you had lots of people saying, "Oh, I can't believe the government have gone back on their promises." Well, why are you surprised? Honestly, because you really shouldn't be. And this person obviously knew it at the time. Miss Hall added that most damagingly, the government also downplayed the consequences of Brexit for the delicate peace process in Northern Ireland, in which the United States was a core stakeholder, having helped to broker the Good Friday Agreement. A low point for me was when I heard a senior British minister openly and offensively, in front of a US audience, dismiss the impact of a no-deal Brexit on Irish businesses as only impacting a few farmers with turnips in the back of their trucks, she wrote. So this minister, right, said it openly in front of an audience of Americans who probably would have been quite invested, I think, in Ireland. That's one of the reasons why they would went to such a talk. Not to mention the fact that there are a significant amount of Americans who identify as Irish. Not to forget the fact that a peace in Ireland is a bipartisan thing they agree on. Both parties agree the Northern Ireland Protocol has to be the Good Friday Agreement has to be kept. Both sides. Both sides, the GOP and the Democrats, don't agree on a lot of things, but it does tell you how much this cuts through in America, that this is one of the things that both groups are concerned about. She also had to provide Brexit briefings for US businesses with significant investments in the UK, and said she found herself struggling to maintain the line that there would be no harmful consequences for them from potential no-deal Brexit, which obviously we know is not true, and she potentially could have held herself. She could have been liable for some of these lies, but I think she could say that she was only told. She only had the information from the British government, who are obviously lying, so I don't think they would have been able to say much to her in a legal sense. But from a moral point of view, if she's saying things that she knows to be untrue, in her heart of hearts knows to be untrue, what more can you say apart from thanks for doing the right thing here. You resigned, you did the right thing, and you're being fairly open about it. You could argue it's 2 years on from the date, but I'm not going to moan at someone that much for coming out and being honest about the situation. Democratic choice. Ms Hall said that she did not personally support Brexit, but acknowledged that the decision to leave the European Union was the democratic choice of the British people. Well, there's some dodgy stuff going on there. Who had voted in a legally constituted referendum. It's an advisory referendum, but okay. She also acknowledged that UK civil servants had to be impartial in terms of party politics and cannot quit every time they disagree with a policy, otherwise government couldn't function. Whilst that is very true, when it comes to implementing very damaging policies, I don't think civil servants should carry on doing their roles. It's very easy for me to say because they're going to have to find a second job or another job, but still. But she said the civil servants also required integrity, honesty, and objectivity from its staff. And can you say that anything the Tories have done over the last decade have been anything to do with integrity, honesty, and objectivity. All they've peddled is lies for the last decade. Division, lies, austerity, and failed economics. But some of those things wouldn't be on the fault of civil servants. They're only there to advise and write a policy and make sure things are within the law. The only thing I want to see is more civil servants come out and be more open about the COVID contracts that were handed out. But a lot of respect from Ms. Hall. She did the right thing here. She resigned, and she's being fairly open about the what was the situation back then. That British politicians either didn't take the situation seriously or just didn't care. I'd say it's probably both. And now we have a situation in Northern Ireland where tensions are rising again, and it's a very scary situation all round. But I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.